Alright, so I haven't really made a drama video in a while. I filmed this before, but I have to refilm it because my phone case was creaking, so I took it off. Because you could hear it in the video, you could just hear creaks every second. I usually stay away from book talk. I'm scared of them, they scare me. But I did think that this was kind of an interesting story, not only like as a cautionary tale for like authors, but also as a cautionary tale for like audiences. So basically, there's a writer, her name is Audra Winter. She's recently gotten in some trouble because she released a book called The Age of Scorpius, and it was part of the Guardian series, the first book. She had actually previously self-published this book when she was 14, and then she took it down, and then she got signed to like an agency when she was like 18, and then at some points she says that she was dropped. At some point she says that she quit due to creative differences. Nobody really knows. She lies a lot. I'm figuring out. But anyways, she was supposed to be publishing this book under an agency, but then at 22 years old, she decided to go the self-publishing route after either being dropped or quitting her agency like a couple years ago. Basically, she released this book. She used to be really popular on TikTok, and then her account kind of went dark for like 2 years, and then she came back on and was like, I'm releasing this book now. And the general consensus is that she should have waited to release it. This book was very rushed, is what everybody's which is funny because she says that she's been working on it for 10 years. She says that she came up with it when she was 12, the idea of this world. I kind of think it's a little ballsy to keep that as your tagline. I'm not really a creative writer all that much. I wouldn't identify as that. However, the songs that I wrote when I was 12 were straight slop. So I would not, oh, I wrote the song when I was 12. It just wouldn't be my tagline. She does kind of come off as like a former gifted kid, which are one of my least favorite genres of people. She kind of comes off as somebody who, there's a motorcycle going by, feels as though she is owed success because she could like read at a 12th grade level in the 6th grade. She comes off as very like egocentric. She responds to criticism by talking, whenever people criticize her, she automatically goes, well, I have a team and I have a studio. It's like, okay, like just because you have those things doesn't mean that the book is good. Those are just things that you have. And I honestly think it's sad if you have an entire team of people and a studio and your book still isn't good. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like using that as a deflection is kind of counterproductive because it's just showing that you've continued to fail despite having all of these resources, most likely due to her not listening. I don't think that you can make up for bad writing with good art. I will say that the art is really good. She hires a lot of artists to do like maps, characters, concept art, shit like that. The character designs look really cool. I'm not a fantasy person. The only fantasy series I read is Ozara, which is a webtoon. So I obviously am not the guy to talk to about fantasy. And I only read that for like BL reasons. Not the guy to talk about fantasy with. But she's very defensive towards even constructive criticism. And she blames her neurodiversity when people call her out. People will give her constructive criticism and she will get really mad. And then people will be like, yo, like, you need to calm down. If you want your writing to get better, you need to listen. And she'll be like, well, I can't help it because it's my special interest. And it's like, okay, but you still can't talk to people like that. She does come off as older. Like, I assumed that she was like 24, 25. She's 22, exact same age as me. I admire her for following her dreams and self-publishing, but I do think that she is shooting herself in the foot by not listening to other people, not taking other people's advice. People have been telling her that, so she published it, and everybody tore it to shreds. Very, like, honestly unnecessarily cruel, but the book talk typically is, I found. Like, I wouldn't go in her comments section and tell her that she's a piece of shit. Like, I wouldn't do that. I think she needs to check her behavior a little bit, but I wouldn't, do something like that. Oh, but she released this book. It went badly. She decided that she was going to, in like a year, she put out a thing being like, in a year, we're going to re-release The Age of Scorpius, and we're going to redo all the art. And it's like, don't worry about the fucking art. Like, this is your debut novel. Just worry about it being good. Like, don't. And she's releasing, like, different versions of it, which I get, like, paperback and hardback. Like, I get that. But she's releasing, like, special editions with different art. And it's like, let's make sure the book is good first before we worry about all that. You can re-release things later. Let's just make sure it's a good book. She also refers to her book as a business, which I think is weird. Because, like I understand, if you have an entire fantasy series, dude, I just completely forgot the author of A Song of Ice and Fire. George R.R. Martin, Jesus Christ. If you're George R.R. Martin and you want to call A Song of Ice and Fire or Game of Thrones a business, I feel like if you've gotten to that point, you can call it a business. But and I was really trying hard not to mention the turf lady. I was trying to pick somebody else. She could probably call her YA novels a business if she really wanted to. But if you're on your debut novel, like, just slow the fuck down. It doesn't need to be a business. Like, she calls herself an entrepreneur because she has a studio and a team. It's very, like, corporate girl boss stuff. Like, that's the vibe that I'm getting, which is weird from an indie author. Like, why can't the book just be good? Like, why do you need to make it a business and be an entrepreneur and discuss animating it? Like, just let focus on the writing, make it as good as it can possibly be, and then move forward based on the response. Like, she's fucking jumping the gun here. This is just like a little side note that I wrote, but she has mentioned the fact that when she edits her book, she just like rewrites the whole thing, and that is insane to me. I've never written a book. I've never written a 400-page novel, but I have written like 25-page research papers, and the idea of going in to edit my first draft and just rewriting the whole thing is bananas. Like, that's such a fucking waste of time. And it just kind of like, oh, no wonder the first book took 10 years. If you're rewriting it every time, doesn't that just mean that every single rewrite is just a first draft? And she says that she has editors. But like, and I haven't read the book in its entirety. I don't even think you can anymore because she's yanked it from everything. I could probably find a PDF if I tried. But I've read passages of the book, and there's a lot of repetition. There's a lot of like simple grammar mistakes that lead me to believe that if she did have it beta read, or if she did have, proofreaders, she either didn't listen to them or they didn't do much. So I don't really know. I also think it's funny that in response to her writing being sloppy, she says, well, my book is in the first person and my main character is neurodivergent, so of course she doesn't like think in perfect grammar, which is so funny, hilarious. Actually, it's so like genius, honest to God. I completely understand what she's saying. I understand that she's trying to go for like an unreliable narrator thing. I love Chuck Palahniuk. I love a good unreliable narrator. However, if you're writing a story and you're selling it for like $20 to $30, like, this is a product at that point, and it does need to be comprehensible to other people, or it's not going to be enjoyable for them to read, and they're not going to want to read another one. You know what I mean? Like, I think that you can have a quirked up main character. You can have an unreliable, quirky main character or whatever, but the book still needs to be understandable. So I entitled this section, The Consequences of Aesthetics, which is kind of funny. So Audra comes off to me personally, as someone who enjoys the look of being a writer, maybe more than actually writing. And she does talk about how she loves to write. She talks about how it's like saved her life and all that. And I that's cool. I get that. But There's something about the Hamilton audios on her TikToks that just like scream performative almost in a way. The things that she seems to be focusing on with the book in the original and the revised version is having good art, which is cool, but you should be focusing on the writing of a book more than the art. Yeah, she's hiring all these artists and animators instead of hiring people who are going to help improve her writing, which is kind of like a little bit counterproductive. She's not being critiqued on art, she's being critiqued on the writing. So I don't understand why. She's also upping the price for her second edition because it's gonna have more art. It's like, the art's cool, but it's not what people are critiquing. And her facts are never straight. One second she'll say that she was dropped by her publisher, and the next second she'll say that she quit due to creative differences. She calls The Age of Scorpius her debut, but also says that she was first published at 14. She went from crying online about needing help funding her book, and then she went to bragging about making 6 figures and having a whole business. It really just depends on whatever she thinks will get views depending on the context. Okay, the camera angle shifted a little bit because I had to plug in my camera. It was doing the thing where it was flashing the red light and it was distracting the hell out of me. I will say I am going to play devil's advocate for a second. A lot of people are demanding a complete and total refund. You can see the weighted alligator on the floor. A lot of people are demanding a complete refund, which is kind of insane. I don't think that you should get a refund just because you dislike a book. That's kind of ridiculous. You don't get refunds for disliking movies. Doesn't really make any sense. But the argument is that she sold a false product. She said that this was going to be a book, but it's clearly not proofread. And I will agree that this book is clearly not proofread. But you guys are the people who fell for marketing. Audra is really good at marketing. I cannot imagine a world where I would pre-order a book that cost $20 to $30 after shipping from an author whose writing I had never read or had never heard any reviews of. And maybe that makes me like a bad person. I don't really buy books. Admittedly, I just go to the library like a poor person. But especially in this economy, I would not spend $30 to pre-order a debut novel. That's a full tank of gas. That's ridiculous. But the thing is she sold it on the TikTok shop, and I actually have a theory that she sold it on the TikTok shop on purpose, because I think that the TikTok shop, like, a lot of people will just kind of buy whatever is recommended. Like, I feel like a lot of people have an issue with the TikTok shop where it just kind of like the dopamine rush of buying things. So I feel like she probably like did it so that while you're scrolling on TikTok and you're, getting all the dopamine and you're seeing it and you're very easily marketable to, you just click a button and boom, you've pre-ordered it. You don't even have to close the app and go into, like, I feel like she did it on TikTok shop on purpose. You guys fell for the marketing of her business because she's an entrepreneur. So I don't think that she should offer full refunds at all. I don't agree with, so she keeps changing things around. Like, she keeps saying that she's going to do things and then not doing them. I recently saw that apparently she was like sending bookmarks to people instead of books. And then like, she was like writing letters being like, I'll send you the final book in a year. I think that those people should probably get refunds because they never got the book in their hand. But if you bought the book, have it in your hand before she yanked it, I don't think you should get a refund. I admire the fact that she was willing to put herself out there like this. She's got balls. I cannot lie. She has an admirable amount of confidence. And you know what? Everybody that I'm seeing genuinely wants her to succeed. Like, I want her to succeed. I want her to take this advice and hire. And, she's saying that she's going to do it, but I don't know if she's going to listen just because of the way that she's responded to constructive criticism. So I think that not only does she need to hire people to help her, but she needs to listen to them. And I think that, because she said that she was going to hire people from her audience to proofread her books. If you're making 6 figures, get a professional proofreader. Don't get a fan, because the fan is going to want to be your friend. And I know she's like, but these are the people reading the books. The fan isn't going to want to say anything mean to you. They're not going to give you actual, just hire a real proofreader and a real editor. Because I genuinely want her to succeed. I don't even like fantasy, and Like, I don't think that the idea is that, like, I was reading the synopsis, and I didn't think it was that original. It just kind of came off to me as every other, like, fantasy YA series, which is fine if you like that. That's not my thing. So I really can't critique it on the idea itself, but I can critique her for the way that she's behaving. So I'm going to critique her for that. She's my age. I hope her the best. Being 22 is hard. You don't really know what you're doing. So I admire her goal to self-publish a book. Better than me. I haven't published anything. I do think that she needs to be more open to constructive criticism. That's my main takeaway. I keep seeing people be like, I'm afraid to publish now. Don't be afraid of publishing. I do think that the fear of failure holds a lot of people back. And I don't think that that should be the takeaway from this. I think that the takeaway from this should be, if you're making something and you want it to be good, you need to listen to people. I think that that should be the main takeaway. The takeaway shouldn't be, don't ever publish anything because the internet will eat you alive. Because I think if she would have released this and, well, I will say, if she didn't hype it up so much and she would have released it and it would have been read by a smaller audience, I think that this situation wouldn't have blown up in her face so bad because she would have had a smaller amount of people telling her what she needs to do. But I think the fact that she went online was, it blew up. Or she released it, it blew up. People were giving her feedback, being like, hey, you're writing clunky. And she was getting online and being very like, well, I have a studio. I have all these people. I think that that's when people started to get annoyed. I think if she would have been kind about it, I think people would have been a lot more understanding, if that makes any sense. Anyways, I'm going to end my spiel here. Don't harass her, obviously. She's offline right now, I think. I wish the best for everybody. I hope you have a nice day, and goodbye.